Hello, everyone. Welcome again to. I want to keep everybody safe, although, well, I'll just stop there. Anyway, today my guest is the 2019 American Rivers Conference Football Coach of the Year, Jeff McMartin. Thanks for coming and making time for us today, Coach.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be out and be here in the studio today.
It is great. So yeah, we were just talking about this COVID. Obviously, that did a lot to Central College. How has it affected your recruiting process?
Well, in some ways, it's been a challenge, and in other ways, it's probably not hurt us as bad, and maybe helped in some ways. I think that the challenge is that we were really well into the recruiting cycle for this past year when everything hit, and we had a lot of guys that already committed about the time that things started to kind of break down. We went on spring break thinking it was going to be a 2-week spring break, and then obviously never came back. And at that point, we had a number of guys that already said they were coming, and so we felt good about that. We haven't had really anyone change their mind since that point, and that said they were coming, but we have added a number of guys, post the COVID outbreak. And so it's just been a little bit more of a challenge. You can't go watch them run track. Mm-hmm. You can't go you can't visit them in the school or do a home visit or anything along those lines. But with Zoom and other social media platforms, and you can still call, text, everything, we've found new ways to kind of reach out, and that's worked out really well. So from that standpoint, we've been able to kind of keep moving forward and have had a really good recruiting year. I would also say that I think we've been able to find people maybe a little bit closer to home. That we're finding that more students are kind of sticking closer to home this year. And it's interesting. I was an assistant coach. I was offense coordinator, recruiting coordinator at DePaul University when 9/11 hit. And really for the next 2 years when I was at DePaul, we felt like we did much better recruiting kind of local area recruits than we had previous to that. And then the longer we got away from 9/11, then more students kind of started to get further out, and where they were going to go, where they were going to visit. We possibly could see that again this year. It's too soon to tell, but certainly we did, I think, have a lot of luck with the young men from this area this year.
And of course, staying on the COVID for another second.
Sure.
As a member of the American Football Coaches Association, does it look like we're going to definitely have a football season, or what are you guys thinking?
Yeah, it's interesting. We meet on this on a pretty regular basis, and we had a very long, lengthy meeting in May. We had one in April. I also serve on the Division III Head Coaches Council, and we met last week for that, and we have another meeting scheduled for June 3rd. And I think, there's not anybody that I've spoken with that has said, we're really holding back. We don't want to play. We don't think it's safe. I think everybody in our camp is saying, we need football this year. We want to get it going. We want to find a way to make it a great fall for everyone, a safe fall for everyone, and give these young men opportunities to play football and continue on with their sport. So, most days I feel really, really good about it. I mean, there's a few days where, you might listen to something or read something, or, you just a little bit of doubt can kind of, start to creep in, or you start to wonder if it's really going to happen or not. But I know Central College, I know the American Rivers Conference, I know Division III as a whole, and college football as a whole is very excited about playing football this season, and barring some, I think, major setback, you're going to see, I think, a majority of the schools playing football this fall.
That's fantastic. And one of the things I was disappointed with was the loss of spring sports, which, safety first for all the kids. But I also think back to this fall and those 2 big comeback victories your team had, and just those moments, especially that catch, to put you over the top against Wartburg. And it's just those moments. How do you think we should balance, giving those kids those kind of memories and themselves in the public?
Well, that's a great question, and I think that it's kind of a little bit of a work in progress, and I think as more information continues to come out, I think it changes the rules, and these rules are changing on almost a daily basis as far as what you should and shouldn't do, and I think that people are going to have to dip their toe in the water a little bit at some point and kind of get back out there and get participating. And I think that there are things that that our school at Central College, that the conference, that college football is working to put in place as far as monitoring temperatures and keeping a close eye on people, and if someone is sick, holding them out, kind of keeping them away from the group and the team, to be sure. But I think that it's a very tough subject, because there are a lot of people on both sides of how kind of secluded we should keep ourselves, and what kind of distance we should keep. And obviously with football, it's a very much a contact sport, and if we can do things to allow people to have a fall sport, whether it be football or anything else, and get back into school and kind of get things going, I think that we should make every effort possible to do so. Because one of the things that I guess I've learned through this whole process about my values and what I think are important are experiences.
Absolutely.
You can have all the money in the world. You can have whatever job you want to have. You can live in whatever kind of house you want to live in. But you'll never replace an experience. And when those experiences are taken away from you, you don't get them back. And even on the college level, you can be given another year. But for some of these college athletes, they need to graduate this year. Central College really is very proud of the fact and of that we are going to graduate students in 4 years. And so, we're not set up to bring all these students back for 5th and 6th and 7 years. We don't want to. We want them to be out getting started with their careers. And so, we have a small amount of time with these people, and we want to make the most of it, and they want to make the most of it. And if we don't participate in these things, they're not going to get another chance at it. High school students especially. This spring has been really hard on high school athletes, and my heart goes out to every athlete, track, soccer, golf, tennis, that didn't get a chance to participate in sports. It's been a really, really tough spring.
But of course, we're going to have a very good fall, and I was looking back at your roster and seeing the weapons that you're going to be able to bring back. Blaine, Jason Hopp, Eric Canuck. It doesn't look like you seem to need to recruit all that much, but you're losing a couple of key players though. Hunter Robinson, and this probably doesn't come up very much, but your kicker John Alberts. That guy was a big difference maker. Have you been able to find ways to plug those holes?
Yeah, I think that through recruiting we have been able to answer some of those questions and find people that can come in and compete. And I think that that's one of the reasons why you do recruit, is so that you have depth. And even thinking about this season with the potential rule modifications and things that might happen, and once again, anything that I would say about that right now is purely speculation. Nothing's in stone. But, what if someone were to not be able to participate due to an illness or whatnot? That's where you have to have depth. You've got to have people that can come in and play any position or specific positions for you. And so, we're always recruiting. We're always, all of this is secular. The names that you mentioned earlier, those guys are going to graduate. Some of those guys are going to graduate now this year. Next year, we're going to be looking for people. So it's always evolving, and you're always trying to continue to rebuild and reload. And so we've been able to, I think, through the recruiting process and through our underclassmen, I think, we will be able to bring to camp, I think, a lot of really good people in August when we start football. So, we have a good group back. We have to keep getting better. Even some of the games that we were able to win were close games, and they're going to be close again this year. And so, what's happened is done, and we're going to be a new team this year, and certainly take advantage of the experience that some of these guys have.
And, you guys are starting off with 2 long trips to Michigan to start off the season. And then week 3, you're opening up conference play against your co-champions from 2019, Wartburg. And I know they're going to be looking for retribution against you guys. So what are your thoughts on preparing for them in the coming months?
Well, I think that us being on the road a little bit before we get to that game, will be a very good thing for us as far as, I think you come together as a team when you get on the road. You're traveling, you're kind of secluded. It's just you guys. There's not a lot of outside distractions, and when you go on the road, you kind of feel like it's you against everybody, and it's kind of us against the world mentality, and we've always liked that. We've always liked the challenge of playing on the road, and I think that with those first two games in Michigan, with opening up the conference at Wartburg, they're all going to be great challenges, and you have to accept that, and you have to be excited for that. You're going to get everyone's best game. And really then it kind of comes down to how well you execute and how well you play. So I think our focus is going to be on, getting our players prepared physically and mentally, and making sure that we have the right mindset going into each week. We'd always like to kind of look at things, one game at a time, but, looking at the start of our season and all the way through our season, what you do for those 6 seconds, that you're on the field, very, very important. But I think it's equally as important what you do from the time that the whistle blows and the play is stopped until you snap the ball the next time. We talk about the 6 seconds that you're playing, but then there's also that 12 to 30 seconds between that play and the next play. That what are you going to do with that time, and how do you get yourself mentally ready and prepared for the next play? And so a lot of our focus this year is going into this season is not only going to be on our physical conditioning and how we execute, but how well we do mentally. I think that there's 4 areas that you have to get ready for as a football player. The tactical, you have to understand strategy. The technical, you have to understand your technique. The physical, you got to be in great shape. And we play at a pace, both on offense and defense and special teams, where I think we really set the tempo, and we want people to have to play at our pace. Mm-hmm. And then the 4th stage is the psychological, the mental side of things. And so if we can get our players to execute well and to be prepared on all 4 levels, we have a great chance of success with our football team.
And as a member of the NCAA Football Coaches Association, what differences do you really see between Division III football and Division I? I mean, everybody's all about the Hawkeyes and the big money that flows into there, but I've watched Division I college football games, and obviously I've watched plenty of Division III games, and it seems to have the same kind of tension. Is it that way among you guys as well?
Well, I mean, I think that as a coach, you're dealing with people. You're dealing with your team, you're dealing with your assistants, all the support staff that go into it on a game day. I mean, you have fans too. You're not running out on Division III. You're not running out in front of 70,000 fans, but you've got a crowd and you've got an experience that you have to manage and work with on game day and in practice. To me, practice is practice. I mean, you're teaching, you're preparing, and watching film, the amount of hours, the work that goes into it, the preparation, I think is very similar. But each level is kind of set up differently, and obviously, there are things that Division I coaches, deal with, whether it be through the media or their schedule, and that we don't. But it's, I kind of feel like all levels are busy. It's just kind of a different level of busy, or different types of busy. As far as there might be certain things that we spend a lot of time with that a Division I coach wouldn't spend as much time with, where in Division III, it's also a little bit different. So I've really enjoyed working and being a part of the board and getting to know coaches on the Division I, Division II, FCS, and NAI level. And one of the things that you find out is that they're guys of great integrity. They're really good men. They are all everybody works hard. Everybody spends a lot of time at their craft, and recruiting and a lot of the stuff off the field takes a lot of time, and so I don't over compare it too much, but I think that all levels are important, and everybody does a great job.
And you've had football has been a big part of your life, obviously. So And I know that we've talked about the moments, and obviously seniors, high school seniors, college seniors were robbed of graduation ceremonies this year. I don't want to make this all about COVID, but just through your
That's okay.
through your football life, what is your favorite football memory? As a coach, as a player, whatever. What's been the highlight for you?
Oh, it's kind of like, a lot of times we'll ask our seniors a similar question. What do you remember the most? And a lot of times they'll talk about just spending time with their friends. The bus rides, the locker room, the going out to practice, and it's hard for them to kind of pinpoint a game or a time. For me, it has been the relationships. I'll tell you what I enjoy really maybe the most of anything. And because to pick one game, I hate to do that. There's games that pop up. There's things that I think about. This past season, we had some really special moments. But there have been other years where the same could be said. I'm going into year 17 now, and so I've been really fortunate to have a lot of great coaches that I've worked with and great players, and so you come to a lot of great moments. But I'll tell you a time that I really treasure.
Sure.
We get done with a game at home, and we'll go after we win, we'll sing the fight song, and we'll go underneath the stadium. We'll say a few words. We keep it really, really brief. Say a quick prayer, and just like I say, congratulate everybody, and a couple cheers, and then we roll up the door to underneath the stadium, and our players will kind of flood out, and they'll see their parents, or they'll see their friends or their girlfriends or whatever, and they just kind of all stand behind the stadium and they talk, and they'll talk for quite a bit, and they'll take pictures and hug each other, and I'll just I'll just kind of stand there and visit with my family too, and as much as I can, just kind of look out on that sea of red of people, and it's a real gratifying, really good feeling, and so that's something I'm always gonna be appreciative of and will always cherish. Kind of big picture, I guess.
Absolutely, it's pretty much an outsider. I agree. That's quite a scene. I encourage everybody listening to go check out at least one home Central football game this year to just see what that's like and to be around that atmosphere. Well, Coach has got to get on a phone call pretty soon, or a Zoom meeting, which I guess is the norm for today.
It's recruiting, It's like now we're Zooming, and we don't have people visit campus anymore. We're Zooming with people, so.
Absolutely, but I never heard of Zoom until this. I don't know if anybody else is that way, but
it's amazing. I'm sure it's been around for a long time, and I'm like, man, whoever invented this, and that's they've got to be just like thanking their lucky stars right now, because I mean, I don't know anybody who doesn't at some point or another hasn't been involved in either a Zoom call or some other similar experience now, and it's a good thing we have it. It's been I think a real help for a lot of people.
It has. Well, like I said, I don't want to make you late for your
No,
meeting.
you're good. You're good.
Okay, but I do want to say thanks again for coming on and joining me today. We'll be I'm sure we'll be talking again in the months to come. Is there anything more you want to say? Or?
No, I just I hope everyone is staying hope-filled, and I know I wish everyone good health, and just know that we're excited about the future at Central and with our football program, and we're looking forward to getting back and having a great fall. And we all coaches and athletes and our college and the other universities and institutions out there will do everything they can to get people back as quickly as they can, as safely as they can, and to have let's get ourselves back to moving at the pace that we want to move at again, and having those experiences that we all look forward to and cherish, and hopefully that's if we've maybe learned something from all this, is that experiences are really important, and we're all here for a short amount of time, and to make the most of those all of our days and years, it's a real critical thing. So we're excited and we're hope-filled for the future.
Absolutely. And, we touched on it briefly. You've got a tough early schedule there with Wartburg and the two Michigan teams. And then you go right into Co. You know, did you plan it that way to face everybody so tough right at the top?
No. And, once again, I don't remember too many easy games that we've ever really had with any of these teams. I mean, every week has been a great battle for us, and we certainly respect everybody in our league and all of our opponents. And we've always tried to prepare the same way. It is an interesting schedule how it's kind of shook out. We had another team that we'd planned to play for our first game, a home game, and they dropped us to play a school that was going to pay them money to play, and so they took a money game and dropped us off the schedule, even though we had everything signed and coordinated. And that kind of happened last minute, and that's really kind of how we ended up driving to Michigan 2 weeks in a row. Fortunately, we were able to find an opening week game after we got dropped. And then, you look at the schedule all the way through, and I mean, each week is tough. But as far as us picking, we get to pick our non-conference games. The conference does all of our scheduling for in league, and so who we play and when we play them and home and away and all that kind of stuff gets done, many, many years in advance. I think we're through now 2027. In fact, we just talked about it as a league. It looks like we have our schedule set, a conference schedule set through that time. So we don't get any say in it. They don't ask our opinion or what we want or anything like that. And once again, they're all tough teams as far as I'm concerned. We haven't really we don't have the luxury of just saying, well, this would be how we'd like it.
Oh no, you can't take anybody lightly, but
No.
It's easy for me to sit back and look at the records each week and say, well, Luther, Loras, those don't look like much threats to you guys, but yeah, I certainly understand where you come from.
We have, it's interesting. We talk to our team all the time about, every game is a battle, and there's going to be, 2 or 3 plays that are going to kind of, make that game. And those 2 or 3 plays might happen in the first half, and they might happen, with 2 plays left in the fourth quarter. You just never know when that's going to happen or when things are going to kind of, a tide's going to turn or momentum's going to switch or a big play is going to occur, or you're going to make a play that could win the football game. And that is true against every opponent in every week. And we've played games against teams regardless of record. We tend to get everybody's best shot, and we appreciate that. I think we recruit guys and in the process talk about that opportunity that you're going to get everybody's best game. There's nobody that's going to come in here and just because it's Central or because of a record or whatever, make it easy on us. And I think that we've had games where teams have beaten us in the middle of the season and they've dumped Gatorade on their head coach. It's almost like they won the national title. And so I think people get up to play us, and so we expect to get everybody's best game each week.
Yeah, sometimes teams develop that mentality like, I don't care who else we beat this year. We got to beat the Dutch.
Yeah, that's one. I think that definitely exists out there for sure.
I know as a Wartburg alum, that was kind of our philosophy back in the day, is that we wanted to see the Dutch go down. And Luther.
Yeah.
We still want it.
Certainly, that is a big rivalry with Wartburg and Luther, for sure.
Yeah, but then they started to get terrible.
Yeah, but that's another game, too, where I think you throw the records out of it. A lot of times when we've watched those games happen over the years, they've been really close, hard-fought games. And I know Luther really gets up to play that game. Mm-hmm. We played Luther a couple of years ago up there, and we kind of felt like we scored late and then just had to stop them. And through a series of events, they drove down the field. In fact, we had a ball kind of bounce off hands, helmet into the air. Guy catches it for Luther. Next thing you know, they're on the 2-yard line ready to kick a game-winning field goal, and they happen to miss it. And we probably shouldn't have won that game, and they shouldn't have lost that game. But it's how it is. And once again, you look at the records of those 2 teams and how that season was and where we were in the point of that season, and I think it just goes to show you get everybody's best game, and I think that Wartburg does too, and when Wartburg and Luther play, it's always a big game.
And I'm sure you know this, going into year 17, it's got to feel good to be the powerhouse of the league and to kind of inspire that in the opponents, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, I honestly don't look at us as like the powerhouse of the league or anything. I think that if you look over the course of the last 10 years, a lot of teams in our conference have won championships. Wartburg's won 3 conference titles in a row right now. I would say that certainly that is a measuring stick, for people in our league to look at, to get to. And, I think that we are one of the best teams, but I think that there's a lot of teams in our league that are really, really good right now, and everybody's trying to get there. And so I certainly don't look at us as a powerhouse. I think that we're very solid, and I think that we play really hard, but we've tried to take a real humble approach and be hungry, and know that it's going to take a lot of work each week.
And I use the term powerhouse because of the history and stuff.
Sure.
And I know you played for Coach Ron Skipper.
Yeah.
How have you I realize that there's a gap in between you and Coach Skipper, but do you feel like a loyalty to kind of uphold that standard that he set all those years?
Well, I think that Coach Skipper did an awesome job, and it was a really inspiring and important time in my life, going to college at Central and playing there, and then student coaching. And then my work study job was actually in the athletic department. I worked for Coach Skipper and Gert, our office assistant. Those were my 2 bosses, and so I was around them a lot. I kind of front row seat at it. And as you decide that you want to, as I decided I want to get into coaching, to have that opportunity to kind of just soak all this stuff in and really observe, he just set a great standard, a great example of, what a head football coach looks like, and how they handle certain situations, and how they deal with people, and how he coached those teams was really special. He had a great staff, and those guys did an awesome job. They worked really well together on the field. And I think he did a really good job of kind of making it all work, and he loved the game. He loved people and worked well with other people. And so it was really inspiring and a lot of fun to be a part of that, to be around it, to see it. And I learned a lot from it. I've also really benefited, I think, over time of, working with some other really great coaches at some other schools that I've been at. And, probably the one thing that I have learned through all of it is you do have to kind of be yourself. And I think that you can take things from each situation or each coach or person that you are. But man, Coach Skipper was special, and there'll never be another one like him. And so I just have to try and go out and be me, and our team has to be who we are. But there's still some things about the program and the history and the legacy of our program that I want to make sure that we maintain, and that, having really high standards, having a great work ethic, being competitive and believing and playing with confidence, having teams that are focused. Those were all things that I think, I observed, that I learned, that Coach Skipper talked a lot about. He talked a lot about, being a gentleman and being a good student. Mm-hmm. And, those are still expectations that we have of our team now. Those things haven't changed. And so there's a lot of the legacy that he created and established that we are working really hard to kind of maintain and kind of carry on.
And, when you were working for him and you want to maintain that legacy, did you envision that you'd come back and coach Central someday? I imagine you had thoughts of being a coach, but did you see yourself doing that?
No, I really didn't. To be honest with you, it's kind of funny when I graduated from Central College, I kind of thought this will be, maybe someday I'll retire and move back to Pella. My wife and I kind of joked about that a lot. We just moved back a lot earlier than retirement. But I really saw my career, probably going in every other direction then coming back to Central, in a sense of like, Coach Skipper, first of all, was going to be there forever. I couldn't imagine anyone else coaching there. And then Coach Cack, got the job and did a great job with it. And he's about my age. And so, I just kind of felt that he would be there for a long, long time. And that, for me to get a head coaching job or, whatever, I'd probably need to be someplace else. So, I was probably as surprised as anybody that this opened up, and it has been a lot of fun and a lot of really great experiences being back.
So, what do you tell your players about the importance of the legacy of Central? Do you really stress that, or do you foresee any of them returning to Pella someday to take care of their business?
Well, we've had a lot of, there are a lot of Central grads overall that still live in the Pella area. And so a lot of students do tend to stay. With our players, when we talk about the legacy of the program, they understand, they understand the winning seasons. They understand the conference titles, the playoff appearances, the expectations. But I think what we really stress more than any of that, and that's kind of always there. They can read it, they can hear it. But I think that they, when alums come back and talk to our team, or when as a coaching staff we talk to the team, they hear messages of being trustworthy, being a close team, having a great work ethic, working really hard, competing, believing in each other, believing in yourself. I think that those are things, that's the legacy of our program, competition, unity, having integrity, those are things that we talk about all the time. And those are things that were a part of that program, since Coach Skipper got there, and probably even before that, and so we really worked hard to maintain those things. And that's what we want the legacy to be, and that's what we want our players to hear. And those are the things that we kind of talk about all the time. And when we talk about it, we say that this is what it means to be a Central football player.
And since you've been out of college for 30 years now.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to date you.
No,
make you feel older.
It's true, and it dawned on me this summer. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I was like, "Whoa, I've been out for about 30 years now."
It's scary to think about that kind
of
stuff.
It is. It's really scary.
Had you not come back to be the coach, do you think you'd still have that kind of loyalty to Central? I'm asking because, obviously there's a lot of high school kids that just made the decision of choosing their college, and that can impact the rest of your life, choosing the right college. But do you think you'd still have the loyalty to Central if you weren't coaching?
Yeah, I would. I had a great 4 years as a student, and I had some amazing professors, some people that really shaped my life, that gave me a lot of advice. I grew up on a farm, and I'm a farm kid, and my parents they still farm and did not go to college. So, and my grandparents are farmers, and so I come from this long legacy of farmers, and I'm the oldest of 5. And so it wasn't like, mom and dad sat down and said, now Grandpa went to Harvard, we've gone to Harvard, and you should go to Harvard, we're all going to go to Harvard. It was kind of like good luck, and find a place that fits. And through the process of being recruited with football and visiting campuses, and I found Central, and I don't have any regrets about it. It's been a great experience for me. It was a great 4 years. I learned a lot. I grew up a lot. I found a calling and a passion, and I had a lot of help. There were people all the way along the way, my professors, my coaches, that helped me get into coaching. Alumni, Del Miller, who just retired a couple years ago from Kansas State, was offensive coordinator for many years as a Central grad. Del Miller gave me a ton of advice on how to get into coaching and get started. I wanted to be like Del, and so the alumni, Coach Bowser and Coach Skipper and Coach John Edwards, all those guys were tremendously supportive. Dr. Richards, Pam Richards, was my academic advisor, and she gave me a lot of advice and really helped and mentored me to get into athletics and college athletics and to coaching. And so, I had a great 4 years. I made great friends and had a great experience. And so when I graduated, yeah, I left on really good terms and had great feelings about Central, and those feelings have never changed. And so, my wife is an alum, and our daughter's going to be a freshman at Central now, and so we love the place, and we always will. It's a really special place to us.
And every college graduate should come out with that feeling about how I made great friends, I had great professors. If you don't get that, you're going to the wrong school.
Yeah.
But once football season ends, how often do your players come by and just seek advice, like life advice?
Well, I think that it's kind of an interesting process, and those are things that are kind of stayed the same for even when I was a student there. When we when we got done with the season, Coach Skipper, he'd go out on the road recruiting, and man, you hardly saw the guy, for a while there, and that's kind of what has to happen too. We'll have end of the season meetings, or we'll meet up with certain players or talk about certain things, and then as a staff we'll get on the road and recruit. Be on the road just about every day through December, to the end of Christmas break, and then start coming back in January and bring recruits on campus. And when you do that, obviously they interact with our players and we interact with our players, and so you do see your players. You see them on the times, the moments that you're back on campus, right after the season. It's been a long year. We've been together a lot, and then that chance to get on the road maybe is a good break for everybody. I don't know, but you kind of get into different areas, but you're always a phone call, a text away, and you'll come back. We'll try and meet with athletes, when we get back off the road in the afternoons, and I think our staff, our entire staff, this isn't just a Jeff McMartin thing, but our entire staff does a great job of staying connected with our team, and they've worked really hard to build relationships. And all of our assistant coaches will meet with their positions, or the coordinators will meet with their sides of the ball, and so those guys get met with a lot, and there's a lot of interaction off the field, outside of the season, and so it's pretty natural and normal, and that's what you want. You want to build strong relationships, and those things take time, and you just kind of keep working at it.
All right. Well, I think I'm good, unless you have anything more you want to add.
No, that's great. Thank you, and once again, I appreciate you having me today.
Yeah, and I appreciate you taking the time, and I appreciate everyone that took time to click on this and check this out. Thanks again, Coach, and thanks everyone for checking out Would You Like to Chat? I'll be back soon, and we'll probably talk more Central football one of these days, so stay tuned. Thanks.